All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Who's Right podcast. And today we're going to record another episode of the Friends of the NL East. But before we get started, hey, Brandon, how you doing today?
I'm good, Frankie. How you doing, man?
Hey, I can't complain. I can't complain. The best season I started the off season for the Mets.
I know, man. Those first few days of the off season are always so gut wrenching because you're just waiting and waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, yeah. And then we get to the non-tender deadline and blood out. We
Yeah,
get a whole bunch of moves from your team. What happened?
well, and you guys cleaned house too, man.
Oh man, we had to, man. We had a clean house.
I mean, you even have half of your 40 man filled out.
No, man, we're down to 27 players. 27 players.
Tis the season, isn't it?
Oh man. I mean, it's just good signs to come, man. Just a total clean in the house. I think we're gonna get rid of more players, to be honest with you. I think there's some more trades coming. And I think you're gonna see a whole bunch of you're gonna see a whole new dugout next year, I think. And it's gonna be cut down to bare bones. Some guys that you got to keep because we just re-signed and stuff like that. Um, but I think we're breaking it down.
It's going to be exciting, man. It's going to be exciting to see, which ones stick, which ones are part of the future, which ones are just place fillers during this time for you guys. I remember when the Braves went through that, and it's hard, man, because you start to get attached to some of those players. You realize they're just really just there to build a bridge to the future, and so it's all good stuff, man. But our first domino fell today, or was it yesterday?
Oh
But we
yeah,
got
before we get to that domino, let's talk about that Braves trade. I mean, you
which
guys
one?
cleaned house.
Yeah, yeah, no. I think what you see in the Braves, and this is something that any team that goes through a rebuild, you kind of look at that, and you got a window. But the Braves are trying to pull off what has been done in Houston, what's been done and with the Dodgers is not just have a window, but say, man, what if this is something sustainable for the next 20, 10 or 20 years? So honestly, what ends up happening is you get stuck with a lot of prospects. And some again you get attached to, or media starts telling you, they're number one on this list or number 10 on this list. And one thing as fans, we got to understand is that is only for us. Like the teams don't put any stock into what Baseball America says
Yeah.
is the top 10 players in their farm system. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely,
And
absolutely.
so, yeah, and so the Braves, we had to clean house, man. We have such a backlog of pitchers, which wasn't true 7 or 8 years ago when we started the rebuild. That was not true at all. We had nothing in the farm. We just were throwing money at stuff that wasn't sustainable. So now there's a backlog because they draft like crazy pitchers. I mean, because I've heard it said you can never have enough pitching in your
Oh yeah.
organization. So the Braves, man, they're stocked. It's just they're not all going to make it.
Yeah.
And so what you saw this past week was the Braves just making room for the next wave. They got a guy Waldrop who they drafted last year, but he's college ready, man. And the Braves have shown they're not scared to debut players who are 21, 22 years old. That's how Strider actually debuted. I don't know if you know, Strider debuted in the World Series, man. Like
Yeah.
just crazy. And so the Braves aren't scared to do that. So they got some guys 21, 22, 23 that are ready to call up. These guys we traded away, Frankie, they're 25, 26, and there's just no space for them anymore. I would say there is an exception to that with Kyle Wright, and we can talk about that trade. But other than that, man, I wouldn't put any stock into it other than the Braves cleared off $10 or $15 million off of their payroll this year. They got a couple of relievers that are solid in return, and they cleared off 5 or 6 spots on their 40 man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know me and you have talked about Soroka before, and you had a heart for Soroka. I know you're
We've been through a lot with Michael, man,
yeah.
and so man, it's hard because as fans, again, I'm teaching my son to like this stuff, but you got to teach it. If you got kids, you got to teach them not only to love it, but how to deal with heartbreak. You
Well, hey man, you're talking to a Mets fan, and
know.
you've already been on the podcast with Victor, so you know.
Well, that's true, man. That's true. So he loved Mike Soroka, now Michael Soroka, and they just, yeah, man, it's easy to fall in love with these guys. But Mike Soroka tore his Achilles 2 years ago and has been trying to come up from that. So actually, his first day back in the clubhouse from ripping his Achilles, he tore it again and had to have a second surgery. And there's only one player in MLB who has come back from a second Achilles torn tear, and I think it's the third baseman for the Cardinals. And so,
Rendon. I mean, not
yeah,
Rendon.
not Aaron. I forget
Arenado.
his name.
Arenado.
Oh, is he? No, it wasn't Arenado then, but it's somebody for the Cardinals did that. And so anyway, he's trying to do that, and honestly, he came back and he showed some flashes, but he really wasn't tearing it up in the minor leagues in AAA. And when he came up in the big leagues, Frankie, he can't throw his off speed stuff as much. And his two seamer and four seamer were like 94, 95 respectively. So he's not blowing people away with his fastball. And that stuff that he'd throw it low in the zone. He'd throw a sinker and it would start low in the zone and you take a swing at it and it would bounce in the dirt and you'd have it was filthy. And man, he can't throw it anymore. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if the trainers told him, if you want to sustain a career, you can't throw that pitch anymore, but he doesn't have it. And so he's going to try to make a comeback, and man, I hope he does. I hope he does. I hope he does well. I think he's in the White Sox organization now, and man, I hope he does well. We're rooting for him. It would be a miracle, man, for him to come back from two Achilles tears. But it would have been huge for the Braves had he come back to Mike Soroka form. But I think everybody knew in our hearts that it probably just wasn't likely.
Yeah. No, and I get that, and you do have to move on. We got a guy that we non-tendered in Guillorme who the fans love. He's a defensive wizard, and he had his best season last year, and then came back this year and just couldn't put it back together. And again, from an injury, he got injured last year, and when he was on a high, and all of a sudden he got injured and just couldn't come back to that same form. Not that he was going to be a big power hitter or anything like that, but a nice slap hitter that can play defense coming off the bench. Very valuable. But now he can kind of and I hope that he gets and he will. But I hope that he does well on another team too. Just like how you feel about Mike. You want these guys to do well. It's just sometimes the time with your team is done, and they
It's
need a
not.
new start.
Well, and Mike Soroka, like to your point, Mike Soroka was entering his free agent year, and he was out of options, and he was going to make $8 to $10 million in arbitration, and you just can't when you're not confident that he's going to be able to go out there every fifth day and give you a quality start. You got to move on, and you hate it. And I'm sure his first time back in Atlanta, he's going to get standing O, whether he pitches or not, and nice video montage. But
Yeah, everybody's getting a video these
everybody
days.
gets a video montage. We might even play it in the bottom of the ninth or something. What was that controversy with Acuna and his video montage? But yeah, man, I mean it'll be really nice. But the Braves, and the upside to that is they cleared these spots, not having to non-tender guys. They cleared them at least getting a solid middle, like two solid middle relievers in return. One for the Soroka deal, Soroka and company, and Kyle Wright.
Yeah. And I mean, you have that reliever's 3 years of control from the White Sox, right? Bummer.
Yeah, bummer.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's his
Hopefully he's
name.
not.
That's his name, man.
Yeah. But you mentioned Kyle Wright. You said
Yeah.
you're not too happy about that trade?
Um, I mean, honestly, I'm a big Kyle Wright fan, man. I mean, I knew Soroka was a shot in the dark. You want to root for him, but Kyle Wright, this is a guy 2 seasons ago who won 20 games for the Braves. And and then this past season, he just had some shoulder inflammation and he couldn't quite come back. And he came back the last 2 weeks of the season and made a couple of maybe one start, maybe a couple of times out of the bullpen. I thought and he'd make the playoff roster and maybe piggyback for like a bullpen game or they'd have throw what do they call those openers? Like I thought maybe they throw an opener and then have Kyle Wright for a few innings behind him because his off speed stuff is filthy, man. And he's a bulldog out there. Like he ain't scared of nothing. And so he was really important for us. Winning the World Series, really important for us. Winning the division down the stretch last year and this past year, man. So he had some shoulder stuff. So he had surgery. And the bottom line is kind of the same thing with Mike Soroka. He ain't going to pitch this year, this coming up year. Like if he does, then they either have to rush him and bring him back by the All-Star break, or they let him take his time and they just hope that he comes back around August or September. And then you're looking at staring down free agency. So, so I think they said the writing's on the wall. They didn't want to be patient. And you can tell. So here's what AA does. AA is our GM. And here's what Alex does. Whatever costs them the loss in the playoffs the year before is what he fixes the next year. So the year before they won the World Series, it was the bullpen. And dude, he went out and signed everybody. Mm-hmm. Like he got more bullpen pieces than you could ever imagine. Everybody's like, what are we doing? But he was like, we're not going to be beat on our bullpen again. And the Braves have had a solid bullpen ever since. I think this year the Braves got beat on their starting pitching. Max Fried was hurt all throughout the year. Spencer Strider's still young, man, 24 years old. And he pitched fairly well in the playoffs. And after that, there was nothing. Charlie Morton, 40-year-old ageless wonder, got hurt. And so there was nothing, man. So I think AA says he's not going to get beat with starting pitching again. Like the Braves may get beat in another way next year, but it's not going to be with starting pitching. So I don't know if that's a big signing. I don't know if he's just going to stock up on a ton of them and hope that something works out, or if he's going to be aggressive calling up some of these young guys from the farm. But that's why Kyle Wright got traded, and in return, the Braves got a middle reliever that should be again a good option for the bullpen.
Good. Yeah, I mean, on Friday you guys rocked the world a little bit, and with all these trades, and I mean, I know a couple teams, even Milwaukee was even trying to trade Woodruff. When no, everybody took their bluff because they knew they were going to cut him or non-tender. I'm sorry.
I couldn't believe that though, Franklin. Like, call me crazy, but Woodruff was on my Christmas list. Like, yeah. I thought, man, if the Braves could pull a trade for Brandon Woodruff, that'd be pretty stellar. And I didn't think it would cost that much, but a high upside. And so, man, when he got non-tendered, I thought, man, what do you think they were doing, man?
Well, because they didn't want to pay him. And, they've been telling the world they're not going to pay anybody. I mean, you trademark Canna for a bag of balls to the Tigers. I mean, you're literally telling your fan base that you're not really going to compete this year. You know what I mean? Because you trade for Canna. Huh?
Let your manager walk.
Let your manager walk. You trade for Canna in the season and then trade him away just a couple months later when you didn't need to. It's not like he cost a lot, and so I think the writing was on the wall, and every team, just like the Braves that would have traded for him, said we're just going to sign him because we know they're going to non-tender him. You know what I mean? And So that's basically the what's happening there. What would be interesting to see is where he goes. Because he can go wherever he wants. You get one of those 2-year deals where you're, I guess, splitting a 1-year deal in a half for both years to sign this guy, and he rehabs with you. So you watch his rehab. You're touching everything that's going on there and making sure that. So it'd be interesting to see where he goes. I know for our team on the non-tender deadline, we got rid of our most controversial piece, Vogie. Vogelback is gone.
Oh, he gone, man. The end of an era in New York is what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
The bogey experiment.
well, it's horrible because at the end of the day, it's not Vogie's fault, right? He is who he is, and he was put in a situation that he couldn't succeed, or there was too much expected out of him for the player that he is, right? He's a bench piece, come off the bench, um, hit you a home run, or just a player that
Is it kind of homer or bust with him?
it's a walk or bust with him. That's the problem. Because he doesn't swing the bat. So, and he's projected, big guy, projected to hit 18 home runs. It's not enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A guy that's your full-time DH.
Not enough. Not enough. And, even the projections say he wasn't worth the hype. Because if you're not projected to hit 25 home runs, at least at a DH position, you're a part-time DH at that point. You're a bench player, and so. But I want to. There were no real surprises. I kind of mentioned
Well, now
Guillorme.
hang on, Frank, with Vogie, because I just need to pay my respects because, man, I mean, not this season, but the season before when the Braves and Mets were going down the road on that division, who's going to win the division, man, that last or second to last series of the season, Vogie had our number, man. I mean, I hated that dude coming up. And so he had a little bit of magic in his bat that year. And so I guess nostalgia just didn't pay off this past season.
Well, it wasn't that it didn't pay off. It's just that he wouldn't swing the bat. Pitch right down the middle, fastball. It's not like it was a curveball or slider or sweeper, whatever they call it now. You know, it was a fastball down the middle, and he's bats on the shoulder. I think that was the biggest frustration for Mets fans. Because if he struck out swinging all the time, that's one thing. But when you struck out looking, that's drives every fan crazy.
It's crazy, man. Who else went walking this past week?
No, nobody is surprised. The only one that I kind of mentioned earlier was Guillorme. Just the fan favorite. Everybody remembers the bat catch with bare hands in spring training. And just a fan favorite. Tossing the ball with Lindor at the end of innings, and just a wizard defensively. Just a guy that needs a new start. But we signed DJ Stewart. Good bench piece, but again, we're our roster's down to 27 because we gotta. I think we're gonna do what the Braves did and just bring a whole bunch of bodies in and see what sticks.
See what sticks, man.
Yeah. So, were there any surprises for you other than the trades?
Nah, man, nah. But there was one little Christmas gift that came early for Atlanta. I think it's worthy we talk about. Atlanta's getting the All-Star game back.
Really? When did that happen? I didn't
Yeah,
see that come through.
2025.
Good, good.
MLB announced, as you know, Franklin, I think Atlanta had the 2021 All-Star game. And because of things happening politically in our country, took it away from Atlanta. Had nothing to do with baseball, but just didn't like the backdrop of being in Georgia, I guess. And so yeah, so they took it out of Atlanta. And then all the Braves did was go on and win the World Series. So I guess it kind of backfired on baseball from a PR standpoint. But now they're bringing it back. So the Braves just had to wait 4 years. But 2025 All-Star game in Atlanta. So came around full circle. I guess they're not mad at Georgia anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear it because again, I don't know about you, but I think most fans don't want to hear about politics in their sports. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I mean,
Leave the
actually, I
politics
watch
out.
sports to get away from politics.
Exactly, exactly. And you and I took a trip last year down to Atlanta to watch a Mets Braves game, and I'm glad to hear that you guys are getting game back because it was a fun time. That's going to be a packed house. Hanging out outside the stadium. Um, People offering me beers while I was waiting in line. So,
Hey,
you know.
it truly is a place of hospitality,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I'm in there with my Mets gear and people offering me beer in line. And I was like, whoa, Southern hospitality.
That's it, man. That's it. And just the development around the park, man, is beautiful. And man, it's set up, man. It's set up exactly to host something like this. So I'm excited Atlanta's gonna get the opportunity. And I'd imagine Mets are probably 5, 8 years away from breaking ground on maybe what their proposal. I know there's going to be a lot of red tape, but I know the Mets are looking at doing a similar development as down there in Atlanta, and
Yeah.
that should be exciting, man.
Oh man, I'm so excited for that because as you know, we're not not in New York anymore. But to take a trip over there and just spend the day just by the stadium, just eat, just enjoy the time, parks and everything that they're gonna build. I'm excited because just like I said, when we were down in Atlanta, that's how you're supposed to do it, and I'm glad that we're gonna be doing the same because it's not everybody's in town. you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's for both of us, right? You're not in Atlanta and I'm not
yeah,
in New York. So
exactly. No,
so
it's not makes it worth the trip.
exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. So now talking about the dominoes falling already, because the next thing to do after losing players and stuff like that is gaining players, right?
That's it.
And,
Gobble them up.
yeah, gobble them up. First domino fell. I don't know if you wanted him. I don't. I know we as for the Mets fans, we didn't want him. But Nola is back with Philadelphia.
Yeah, man, I'm not surprised by this move. Honestly, I don't think anybody is. I think it was probably the second page headliner today. But I think I was surprised was by the how low the deal was.
Yeah,
I thought he would get a lot more money, and and it sounds like he was never really going anywhere. I mean, from the terms of the deal, the fact that he took that deal, reports are that he got a whole lot more money offered from other teams, but he wanted to stay in Philly. He's a Philly guy, and it's exciting times in Philly. So I don't blame him. I mean, and so yeah, I think the Braves are. I don't think anybody had their heart set on Nola. I think if anything, it's just to get him away from the Phillies.
yeah,
Would have been a win in that, or if he didn't come to the Braves, I wish he'd have gone to the American League. Just because, man, he's just hard to hit. Even when he's not on, he's still a tough out. So, yeah, I mean, I think is kind of what I expected. The Braves are just trying to get whatever we're interested in everybody.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
I think the Braves fans, though, Frankie, were frustrated because of the starting pitching. And yeah, we're bringing up a lot of young players, but I think the Braves are restless to go out and sign us a headliner. It's been a long time since the Braves have made a huge free agent splash. They've done all these extensions, but haven't really played much in the free agent pool. So I think Braves fans are holding their breath for that one, but yeah, fully expected Nola to be back in Philly. You?
Yeah, and just like you said, the contract kind of told you he gave the hometown discount, right?
Oh yeah.
It's one of those things where he wanted to be a Philly. They're a little different in Philadelphia. Uh, and he wants to be part of that, and he likes being part of that. And and mind you, Philly fans, don't get upset. I grew up close to Philly, 40 minutes north of Philly, so I know all about the Philly fans and been to that stadium plenty of times. But yeah, y'all a little different, and it's
Who
okay.
doesn't love getting booed in their home park? You
Right.
know, I mean, these are fans who booed Santa Claus.
Yeah, absolutely,
So
absolutely. So it's all good. He got the hometown discount. He wanted to stay there, and they got the solid number one with Wheeler, and solid number two with Nola. I probably do think they probably also need to pick up some more pitching, and that might have been part of the whole hometown discount. Is you don't have to give me as much as long as you bring somebody else in. And so I'm assuming that that's going to happen. But talking about, I know you said extensions and free agency, but I mean, you guys picked up a couple guys in trades. You didn't do the free agents thing, but Olson and Murphy came in trades, and because they're not homegrown Braves, they're kind of. But when they came in, they signed extensions right away.
yeah, no, I mean it's a different way of doing it, right? So and here's how the Braves front office works. They have a list of players that they want. They don't get caught up in the shopping sprees. They have a whiteboard in their war room that has the players that they want. And so if those players have a year of control left or 4 years of control left, does not matter to them. So if they have to trade or if they have to spend money, it doesn't matter. So if there's like a Dansby Swanson and he's not on the board, then they have no problems letting him walk. They made him an offer, but they had no problems letting him walk. And then
Right.
they replaced him with an all-star shortstop. So, it's the Braves, man, they do it by players. They have players they really want. Hence why they traded another all-star catcher for another all-star catcher.
Yeah.
Because they traded Contreras away to the
Who had
Brewers.
a good year.
Had a great year.
Yeah.
He's a great catcher, man. I mean, the Braves would have been set and would have saved a lot financially, but they wanted Murphy. And so that they moved the mountains to get Murphy. So fans can speculate and do all this stuff, but the bottom line is the Braves already have a list of players that they want, and that's how they go about their business.
It's good. It's good, and you got to have that consistency. So and that's what I'm hoping Stearns brings to the Mets, just that consistency, and just getting the players that they want, and creating that culture of consistent winning.
Hey Franklin,
'Cause
who's the GM now in New York?
no GM. We're
Oh,
not
okay.
looking for a GM. Ultimately, it really doesn't matter who's our GM because Stearns was gonna have the
You're gonna
ultimate
make the
say.
calls.
Yeah, yeah. And he actually said that, it takes too long to they have so many holes that to fill in the GM hole wasn't worth it this year just because there's so many things to worry about. And he was gonna make the last call anyways on anything that was gonna happen. Epler was going to help him with tasks, behind the scenes stuff, but ultimately Stearns was going to make the trades regardless. You know what I mean?
So is Stearns going to end up, you think, kind of like AA, being the president of baseball ops and GM?
Yeah, yeah. He's gonna have all those and the GM roles that he's gonna have are just basically gonna be all his assistants, basically. Um,
Yeah, that's what AA does too, because you'll hear him talk about trades and he'll talk about, well, wasn't really involved in that one, or I wasn't really, no, obviously he's involved in the sense of he tells them to go out and do it, but he's not the one making the phone calls.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's going to be the same situation here with the Mets. So that's why I'm not worried about them getting a GM this year. I mean, we already had a couple signings. on in the office side with taking the VP from the Astros and executive from the Cubs. So we're he's like I said, I don't think he's worried about GM just because he's got the ultimate last call, and then everybody else is gonna just like in Atlanta to make the phone calls and then they're gonna bring the trade to Stearns, and he's gonna say yes or no. you know,
Yeah.
just like in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, let's talk wish list before we finish
Let's
off
do it,
here.
man. What's on your
And
Christmas wish list?
well, for me, I just got one player right now that I really want, and everybody else, because at the end of the day, I don't expect to be World Series or bust this year, because we're rebuilding. So the player that I'm hoping for that the Mets go after is Yamamoto, Yoshi Yamamoto. That's the only player, and the reason I want him is because of his age. He's
Mhm.
25. He can grow with the ball club. He's not an older guy who's expecting to win next year because we're not. you
Mhm.
know, we have a 27 on a 40-man roster. If
Right.
that doesn't scream rebuild, I don't know what does.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
so, so he's the only guy on my wish list that I that I would like in the free agent market. Obviously, if some trades are come available, I wouldn't mind talking about it. But not the guys that are going to be free agents, not like a Soto, or any of these guys that are going to be a free agent next year. Because at the end of the day, if we're a different team, if these guys that came up last year, like Beatty and Alvarez and Mauricio all do well, then we can fill in. Or if they don't do well, then we know what we got and what we can have to go get next year, right? And we got Acuna's little brother with us, the better Acuna.
Man, that's some strong words for the NL MVP, man.
I know, right? But all jokes aside, who knows what these guys will be? Obviously, Acuna's little brother is not projected to be the big power hitter that Junior is, but who knows what they're going to be because they're prospects, just like you said how we started the show today. Prospects, if they don't pan out after a certain age, they got to move on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So who knows?
And sometimes prospects moving on is a really good thing for the organization and for them. I mean,
Exactly.
you look at a lot of players, man. I think about even Charlie Morton, who just kept getting better and better and better as he goes. And sometimes, man, those especially pitchers, I feel like, but you just need a new voice, need somebody who saw something and can kind of help you out. I think
Yeah.
that's important. Yamamoto is kind of even though he's a free agent, I haven't seen anybody who thinks he's going to go anywhere other than New York.
Well, it's the first battle of New York. Both the Yankees and the Mets want him. So it's really going to be up to him on where he wants to go. Because at this point, um, I don't think money's going to be the issue. It's really going to be if he wants the most money.
Right.
or if he wants to go play somewhere else that has a better chance to win. Because that could be the other thing with the Yamamoto thing. He might want to go take less money and go to a place that is ready to win next year. I'm hoping to contend in 2025, but we're not ready to win next year.
Yeah,
Anything.
but the cool thing about Yamamoto is how young he is.
Well, that's why I
He's
want him.
25.
That's why I want him. It's because
He's
he's
only
young.
25, man.
I'm tired of these old guys coming to the Mets.
Hey, they end up winning World Series, man.
Well, at least one of them then. Uh, not the other one. The one that pitched better actually didn't win.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, man, it's I think Yamamoto would be good, especially with Senga. the two of them together probably encourage each other a lot and spur each other on, maybe some healthy competition. And then here's the other thing about a rebuild too, is you want you don't want to fill all 5 spots. You want a 5th spot that you can bring some young guys up and down to kind of see where they're at in their development, if they're ready for the big moment. Because that's the only way to see what you got in the farm. And when you're able to do that, man, you're able to fill it up. I'll tell you who's on my wish list for the Braves. We got to fill 2 things, Frankie. One, we need a left fielder. So we did not pick up Rosario's option, and so Eddie Rosario is a free agent. And I don't think the Braves are going to make but again, the Braves don't care about position. They care about the player. And so there's been a lot of talk about moving Vaughn Grissom to left field to keep his bat in the lineup, because he just tears up AAA, man. And I think if he had a full season in the bigs, he would become a big league hitter as well, because he slashes like almost 360, 370 batting average in AAA. So I could see that. I could see the Braves moving that over to spend big money elsewhere. But I also like the idea of a minor splash. I like Jock Peterson, man. And I think Jock needs to come back to the A. He won a World Series with Atlanta. He fired him up. He gives the Braves some attitude. And the Braves need some attitude, man. They just didn't have anybody smacking people around in the playoffs, waking people up. Everybody's just kind of ho-hum, walking through, just another day, And I think they need somebody that's going to just walk out with pearls on and just wreck everybody. So I don't know, man. I'd love to see Jock. I don't think he's an everyday left fielder, but maybe a bench guy, giving Vaughn Grissom some time off in left field, since that'll be a new position for him. So I'd love to see Jock Peterson. And then I'm hoping the Braves. I'm looking at this. There's a lot of free agent pitchers, man. But a lot of Braves fans want Sonny Gray. What do you think about Sonny Gray?
I like Sonny Gray. I actually think that I thought he was going to go to Philadelphia if Nola didn't sign there.
You think he's a comp to Nola?
I think so. I think when he was with the Yankees, they didn't use him properly. They try to force him to have a couple pitches that just wasn't him. And then when he left New York, he went back to what made him the money to go to New York, right? And so I really like Sonny Gray. That would be a great pickup for Atlanta. Um, 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 I hope you don't get him, but,
I don't know, man. I'm just I feel like the last 5 or 6 years, all we've heard about is Sonny Gray, Sonny Gray, Sonny Gray. And didn't he come up with Oakland?
He did. He did.
And so I wonder just how much of it is the Oakland effect, because you and I have talked about this before. So many times you got these players that are just tearing it up in Oakland, for the A's, and then they go to other teams and they're just a mediocre player. And now obviously you've got outliers like Matt Olson, but even Matt Olson's defense is not gold. Like, the dude ain't gonna ever win another Gold Glove.
Right.
He was touted for his defense when he came to Atlanta, and that's not there. Murphy, even though he had a great offensive year, defensively, he showed spark. But there's also times you were like, what is he doing? So I wonder how much of the Sonny Gray thing, like, do you think if he gets a chance to play somewhere for the next 4 years that he can show flashes of being a solid number 1, number 2 guy?
Well, I think solid number 2. Just like Nola in Philadelphia, I think he's a solid number 2. He was with Minnesota last few years, and you could, Minnesota is probably similar to that Oakland effect, right? Where you think that these guys are better than they actually are. But I do think that um, Sonny Gray would actually back that up. And as long as he's not the guy in Atlanta, he's not going to be the guy because Strider's the guy,
Right.
right? Strider's the guy. So as long as he's not number two, number three, I think he's a good fit there as a number two and number three. Obviously, we're nowhere near that sweepstakes just because he's old enough that he wants to probably go somewhere that he's going to actually compete for a championship. So that would be a great pickup, especially to solidify the middle of your rotation, because the top of the rotation, you still got Freed. So for you, he'd be a number three, right? Because you got Freed, you got Strider.
Yeah, we got Freed, Strider, and then we picked up Morton's option because where are you going to get a pitcher like Charlie Morton for $20 million
Right.
on this market? And so they picked him up. So I think Sonny would fit in as a number three starter in the Braves rotation. So not a bad number three guy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think that would be a good fit for you guys. But I heard some smoke about Shohei.
Yeah, man, these writers are doing anything for clicks right now. So they find a fan base that's blowing Twitter up and put that fan base's uniform on Shohei, and everybody loses their minds. So
Well, but no, wait. Shohei said he's intrigued.
I bet he is. I bet he's intrigued by anybody who's going to put enough zeros at the end of his paycheck. So, listen, man, the Braves front office is sealed, man. You can't if you think you heard something and the Braves didn't announce it. It is either really wrong or you just got somebody fired. Like they are so tight. I can't tell you a single move in the last 4 years that the Braves haven't announced themselves and not by a reporter. So I think it's too big for that. Shohei's too big for that. There's no way the Braves will be able to keep it tight-lipped. I don't know how him and his entourage fit into the culture. Atlanta's big culture people, man. And it's all about the culture. And if they think you're going to mess with the culture they've spent years building, that's not going to happen. It doesn't matter how amazing of a player you are. So, but I think there is this realm of possibility that the Braves would sign him if they were convinced that Shohei would fit into their culture and he would be willing to do what he needs to do to fit into that culture. Because he's not like he's at the Angels, man. I mean, at the Angels, he was it. He was the king.
Yeah.
And so even more than Trout, because Trout wasn't even around like for 6 months.
Yeah.
So Shohei is the king. Well, wherever he goes next, he ain't going to be the king. Like if he ends up in Atlanta, he ain't the king of Atlanta. Like Ronald Acuna Jr. is the king of Atlanta. And so like it would just be a different dynamic. So would he be able to fit into that culture and be a good part? Then I think the Braves would make a play at it. If not, or they have doubts about that, they're going to make an offer just to throw their names in the hat. But I don't think it's serious. Not because I don't know. Like if he went somewhere in many other teams, he would be the king. I mean, he would take it over, right?
Yeah, and the more we hear, the more I hear about Shohei, because you and I have talked about Shohei. How much it'd be great for the Mets to go after him. But the more I hear about him, he hasn't talked to the media since August 6th.
Yeah.
That doesn't fly in New York.
Oh, no, they're coming to your house.
Yeah.
Shohei, got a
Yeah.
question.
So I don't think he's a fit at all in New York in both teams just because of that.
I mean, he's coming out of such a toxic culture with the Angels that to me, if I'm Shohei, maybe I'm going to go somewhere. I mean, he's going to demand a big market. So we're talking both New York teams. We're talking San Francisco. We might be talking Chicago, maybe Atlanta, San Diego, and the Dodgers.
Yeah,
Right.
and San Diego's probably out because one, they're trying to shed payroll, and two, their owner just died. So, that you can
Yeah.
count that one out.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So I think, man, like to me, it's the Dodgers, or he might even with Ron Washington now in with the Angels, and then he just took our first base coach in Atlanta, Eric Young, to go with him. Man, I don't know. Shohei might do it, might be a new day and for the Angels, as far as the clubhouse culture goes, because
You know
Ron
what? That's
Washington ain't going to put up with it.
and that's I never even thought about the Ron Washington effect of him staying with the Angels because of that. You know, um, he might think it's a new day because he's heard a lot about Ron Washington. Who hasn't heard about Ron Washington?
Yeah.
And so that might be the sneaky ending to the Shohei is that he actually stays put.
I mean, I think if anybody can convince him to, it's Ron Washington. I mean, the dude just commands respect from
Yeah.
everybody in the game. So I don't know, man. I could see it, but I think it's down to the two LA teams, honestly.
And
I
San
think,
Francisco. I think San Francisco's got a sneaky chance to get him.
yeah, I think so. I think so. But it's just a circus, man. And not talking to the media, I don't think that's as much of a Shohei thing as it is a his agent thing. Telling him, hey man, stay above the fray. Because by August, the Angels were on fire. Like, I mean, they always have been, but by August, man, Rendon lost his mind. Like, they were all crazy. And so I think he knew, like, man, you need to stay out of this because you say a wrong thing or something gets interpreted wrong, or even your facial expressions, then that could be the difference in another $100 million that you get
Yeah.
from a team.
Well, you know what? Honestly, I don't think anything would have affected the payday because it's Shohei.
Maybe not, man.
you
Maybe
know,
not. But I don't know because you may water down the greed of some of these teams, man, because teams are already looking for a discount because he's not going to pitch next year.
yeah, 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 and that's why it's the big markets, right? Only the big markets going to pay him because they're the ones that aren't going to care if that he doesn't pitch this year.
But yeah, the dude's going to make $50 million this year to be a DH.
Yeah, that's insane.
Hoping that he comes back from his second Tommy John. Is this his
Yeah,
second Tommy John or first?
second Tommy
Second
John,
Tommy John.
second Tommy John, and the thing is, Babe Ruth stopped pitching about this around this age. So who knows? Maybe it's time for him to stop pitching because his arm's not going to hold up.
I mean, would he take 350 million just under the impression that you're a DH for the rest of your career versus trying to take 500 million and say he can pitch, but then ends up never making it back to the mound?
Yeah,
Because that's a
well,
real possibility.
it is a real possibility, but I do think that if he doesn't pitch, he's going to the outfield, either center or left.
Yeah, they're going to
Because
play him.
yeah, he'll play somewhere. He just won't be able to pitch. But because he's an athlete. I mean, he steals bases. He's all over the place, and he's got the skills to play the outfield. So, if he doesn't pitch, I don't think he'll be a DH for the rest of his life. I do think that they'll make him, or he'll want to play somewhere because the only reason he's okay with a DH is because his arm's tired.
Right. Yeah, it had to surgically repair that thing, man.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Any other wish list before we get out of here?
No, man. I mean, I was just looking at pictures. I mean, Sonny Gray, obviously, and I'd keep my eye on Brandon Woodruff. I think he's a good fit in Atlanta, man. I'd love to have him, but I think you're not done seeing trades with the Braves, and so I personally, maybe top of my wish list is Burns.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I know it would be a trade, but I don't know if Milwaukee's starting to tear some things down. I think he's a free agent after this year, and
And,
so
and that's the question with Burns with regarding Atlanta is he's a free agent, and so is Max Fried, right? After this year.
yeah.
So you have two pitchers on a free agent market. Is that something that Atlanta likes to do? Having these two guys?
Atlanta doesn't care, man. Is your name on the board? And that's literally all they care about. They will cross that bridge when they get there. Like I guarantee you, they have not talked seriously to Max about an extension yet. They'll probably start talking to him about that in January. And then they'll see where they're at. And honestly, at this point, free agents to be, they know how AA operates. And so I think at this point, the Braves fans don't get upset at AA if they walk. They get upset at the player because they know that if the player wants to stay, AA, the GM's not playing, man.
Well,
Like,
and that's the only reason why I don't think Shohei's going to Atlanta is because you don't break the bank for players. So why
no.
would you break the bank for Shohei?
Well, he's a generational talent. The thing is, the Braves don't need him to sell tickets. The Braves are right behind the Dodgers in sellouts and ticket sales. So they don't need them to sell tickets. They don't need them to draw attention to themselves. Like they have no other motive other than can he get us back to the World Series? That's it.
Yeah.
So if they think that he gives them the best shot to get back to the World Series, then they'll throw some money at him. Like I don't think they're scared to do that. I just think they haven't found a player they think is worthy to throw that money at. I mean, they made Freddie Freeman the same offer Los Angeles did by the time you factor in taxes to it. He's actually making less with the Dodgers than what he was offered in Atlanta. So they're not scared. They signed massive extensions to Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Murphy. Like they're not scared to throw money around. But they're not going to pay you more than what you're worth on their whiteboard. And if Max Fried isn't signed by the end of spring training, then I think you can pretty much assume that he's going to walk or he's going to take the walk of shame and come back and take what AA offered him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with me. I don't have anybody else on my wish list. The only guy I like is Yamamoto because of his age. Everybody else is because we are rebuilding. I don't want anybody over 30 to be honest with you, unless they're a 1 year contract filling in for this year, and we restart again next year because um, these old guys aren't working out for us.
Yeah, but you need a veteran to help these young guys. You know who that was in Atlanta during the rebuild? Nick Markakis.
Yeah, well, and for the pitchers, we got Quintana, who's a veteran pitcher, who can help these guys out. Senga's, if we get Yamamoto, can help out. So yeah, I don't mind. Like I said, I don't mind signing a veteran pitcher for on a 1 year, maybe 2 year most. Nothing too long, and not these crazy $40 million contracts that we did with Verlander and
Hey,
Scherzer.
I hear Trevor Bauer's out there.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I didn't want him the first go around. I definitely don't want him again. So,
Dude, seriously, is he going to get picked up?
oh, for sure, somebody's gonna
You
pick him up.
think? You think
Yeah,
somebody's going to pick him up?
somebody's gonna pick him up.
Is he going to get paid what the Dodgers paid him, 40, 50 million a year?
No, he's gonna sign a 1 year, prove it that he can still pitch in the majors contract, and if he does well, then somebody will pay him next year because it's gonna be 1 year removed from all the chaos.
Hmm. Man, what a mess that whole thing was.
Oh yeah.
What a
Well,
mess, man. He would fit right in New York.
no, 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 not at all. Maybe with the Yankees. But yeah, everybody, we're gonna end it there. Good talk on the wish list. We'll do this again next week. But if you like this video, like, subscribe. Let's talk about it. Comment in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about it. Who's right? Atlanta, New York, Philadelphia? Doesn't matter. Put a comment down in the comment section. Let us know how you feel. Last words, Brandon.
Nah, man, this is great. I appreciate you having me on, Franklin. Looking forward and hoping this off season gets rolling a little bit, so we have some more reasons to hop on the podcast.
Yeah, man. All right, guys. Again, like, subscribe, comment, and we'll talk to you soon. All right.
Thanks, guys. Peace.
See ya.